Welcome to Renaissance Charge Videos. I'm Rick Friedrich, and today we're going to talk about another convention that we just had and another one that we're going to have. So briefly, we just had one in Middlebury, Indiana, just last weekend, and on the 27th and 28th of August we'll be down in Orlando, Florida. Now the registration is already on the website, so you're welcome to register. I'm doing such a quick repeat convention because people were begging to come to the first one and we filled up within days. So I like to keep things around 30 people so that I can give attention to people properly and people are looking over people's shoulders. I think though we'll have quite a bit more space. We're going to be in a church and we'll have plenty of space for more people to come. So you can register there if you want to. Now what I'm going to be showing in this video primarily is a clip from that meeting where we showed this big setup with 120 coils lit up. So I want to talk about that a little bit and some new products that we're going to be doing here that will be available at the next meeting before they're on the website. So what we had here was running the basic coil kit. You can see the kind of coils that we're making here. We run that through this primary instead. Same well, not the same inductance, but the same frequency. Same length of wire and the same frequency. So primarily we're interested in running the 120 of these. Now I'll probably at the next meeting have about 200. As many as we can make to keep up with orders. And put all those little capacitors and LEDs in, which takes a while. And then we had these other coils here, and we're going to have 3 layers again. We didn't really focus on the bottom and top layers because we ran out of coils putting on this platform here. So you'll see in the video clip all the coils that we had, but you'll also see that we can stack up. We could stack many layers. In fact, I like to joke around that if we did this, if we had the amount of coils, we could go from here to California and light everything up all along the way. Now, what you find here in this system is that once you have all these coils tuned together, it's a very powerful lock sympathetic resonance without even really positioning things very well. Everything locks in place and you can't really disturb it. It's a powerful force at that point, and that's why you could keep adding more and more. Just like Don said, you can fill the whole room up. So this is kind of my goal. It's kind of fun goal, but it's also showing all the skeptics and almost everybody that Don was right. When he spoke about these things, he knew what he was talking about, and everybody overlooked him. And that's why we did the Don Smith book, and I'm real happy with the results. As far as I know, everybody's really happy with the Resonance Kit 1, because this will be the Resonance Kit 2, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I want to show everybody bit by bit that Don was right. Not that I have any connection with Don or want to necessarily prove him right, but I want to prove that the things he was talking about were true. And so far, I have done that, not just with the public and showing these different things that we've shown so far, but to myself, I've shown that probably about 75% of what's in the book I've already replicated myself personally. I don't usually go and say, I'm not going to get into specifics with anybody unless I feel like it, but that's my sort of testimony at this point. Now, let's go back to this sympathetic resonance and this locking concept. So, we first demonstrated this. I'm not saying what I've done, but I'm only talking about the stuff that I demonstrate to the public, or what others of my students and customers have discovered, either on their own or indirectly through the instructions and kits. So once they show something, then I show it. It's kind of like a policy of mine to allow people to actually plug away at things. And so one of my workers actually did a little bit of a demonstration that they discovered. So I let them do that at the meetings and that. In fact, he was the one that set up the whole thing that you'll see in the video, because I didn't have time myself. So anyway, what we're getting into here is when we have all these coils in resonance, just like Don said, you think of a room full of ping pong balls bouncing back and forth, and it's just one big organized oscillation, and it's really strong and it's attractive. It brings in more electrons into the whole vicinity, and that's why if you're earth grounded, which we weren't even really doing, it takes a little bit of time for this thing to build up, and that's what people don't realize too. We'll get into that in the grounding points later on. So now, what happened was when we did this in California on a smaller scale, we were starting, I was just doing that lunch break and I wasn't trying to set it up to do that. And then we were just putting all the ferrite rods into the center of a bigger coil. And usually that detunes it. But we had enough of the coils around there that were contributing that there was a I'm failing to think of the best word to describe this, but the whole body, the whole system was strong enough that no matter how many ferrite rods with coils and loads on them we put in there, it didn't shake it. In fact, it lowered the input down to almost nothing. Now, in that case, there was a little bit more tuning involved than what we were showing in the next clip of this video from the meeting, because we were still drawing 1.29 amps at whatever voltage it was. You'll see in a minute in the video. In this last demonstration, the other one we were drawing almost nothing, which is what I do all the time. But when I have to set things up to take time to do that. So the point is that we can add as many coils as we want. Now, of course, that's not convenient to spend $11 on one of these coils and buy 200 of them. You're always welcome to do that, and people buy a whole bunch. I think if you buy enough, like you don't have to buy too many before you can experience that. And then you can realize it's enough. Like, I mean, it will always be able to grow indefinitely with one transmitter without drawing any more energy. Now, this is the mystery point in the kit, Resonance Kit 1. That was one of the main mystery points. There was really about 5 of them that I have in mind. And you know, not anybody has revealed some of them or discovered them or communicated that to me, all the different points that I had in mind. In fact, I keep focusing on different aspects of that book in the advanced section that people are overlooking. So we had a theme in this meeting, this last meeting, and in the next meeting we'll repeat that, and we'll have more things to display than we got finished at this meeting. And that is the concept of the many bodies. So I have a new analogy that I'll be showing and explaining along those lines. But the many bodies concept, as opposed to a single body, this is coming from T. Barrett, as I've talked about him many times, and that's in the Resonance book. So many bodies are multi-bodies as opposed to single monolithic entity. And it was talking about Tesla shuttle circuits, and the idea of a cul-de-sac, kind of like a branch system which is independent from the primary system. So we can see that in the motor kits where we're charging the second battery. It's independent. It's connected, but it's kind of a loose connection, if you will, out of phase. So this is a very important concept I enlarged upon quite a bit at the meeting. And I think it's essential for many of the free energy systems, essential principle. And the key thing that I'm trying to do with that is differentiate between looking at a free energy device and looking for one concept rather than multiple things. So we're looking distinctly at each principle and each phase, or each module, as Don would say. So those are the kinds of themes that we're focused on right now, of showing, just so that people really get it, right, and really can think scientifically about these things. So anyway, going back, I want to go back again to finish up that, what I was talking about, where this is locked in. So it becomes a powerful entity, and this is at low voltage input, right? We're not talking about high voltage. When we go to high voltage, we don't have to have so many coils to create that atmosphere, that resonance that's in the air. When we go to high voltage, high frequency, which we're at what I would call medium high frequency, we're just starting it. This was, I think, 2.7. No, it was still 1.18. This was at 2.7, the resin kit 2. This was at 118 frequency. And these coils were the exact same wire length with a little bit different inductance and capacitance. And I guess we'll sell these. I wasn't planning on it, but people were begging to buy them. So these have a very high Q, and they're not even wound very well, but they were just thrown together at the last minute. And so we'll make more of these, I guess, and bring them down to the meeting, and then we can see if... So my card ran out of memory, and I forgot my train of thought there. So we were talking about these coils, the bigger ones, and we were saying we can make them available, and that they have the same number of turns, or not, sorry, the same number of turns, the same wire length as both this coil, primary, and the kit coil. And that's all we're going to talk about there, but the point is, it's a very powerful lock-in concept or experience there, in which we can add to it. So now again, I purposely showed these things on a low power level for safety reasons. You wouldn't want to have learned that with the high voltage, because you're going to be subjecting yourself to a lot of radiation that you don't want to do. And that's one of the main reasons why I've kept things, kept things at a low power level was for the safety reasons. The other one is you're not going to learn properly just diving into the higher levels. So we're using the frequency generator right now to create the trigger process, but we'll be going to the higher voltage in the third and fourth kit. Whether that is for the public or not, I have to determine. The general public. Anyway, we'll be showing things at the meetings, and I'm going to be doing as many meetings that I can before this cyber attack promised is coming. Whatever that is going to mean, we'll see. So the next one, as I said, will be in Orlando. Now, as I mentioned, we have 2 other products coming out, and I've already said this about the Resonance Kit 2, and we're still finalizing that. It'll be another month, so by the next meeting, I have to spend a lot of time writing out a lot of different things like we did in the first book. Not as much as the first book, but we'll see what I can get time for. And we're pretty much finalized on the parts, and we've handed them out to those already that came to the last meeting. So that's one kit that we've been working on, and we're continuing to work on. The next one is the new window motor, which I need to really come up with a different name. So we've got a 3D printer now, and we're printing our own plastic, and it's turning out really nice. So we decided to revamp the window motor, as we called it before, well, as Bedini called it. This is not actually a window like he was doing anyway, so we really need to change that name now. And this one has 8 magnets instead of 6, and so you can have 4 coils all the way around this. And then it's encased, so the magnets are not exposed, that they could break out, and you have to put the nylon tape and that. So this is obviously more powerful. We can push it harder, and it's worked out real nice. Now, what we want to do with this one is make it like we originally had intended. There's holes here that we could put bolts through, and the nuts fit in there, and you glue them in, and then you put the holes, or you put the bolts through and connect them up to more of a frame support, because you really can't attach to these bolts here because the coils are wrapped around them. If you're doing less than 4 coils, you could do that, but this is where we want the support. Now we will make, again, that we were doing before, the hull. Well, we didn't really make that available actually. I did that for the watercraft demonstration model, where we had 2 hulls on there, hull sensors, and then we can control it differently. And we ran that with radio controlled circuit already. And anyway, what we'll do here, like we were making this originally for an airplane, and we were going to fly a banner to start the Coeur d'Alene convention with this in an aircraft flying the airplane, or powering the airplane, and pulling a banner, and welcome to Renaissance 2011 Free Energy Convention. But that was one of the things we never got finished. But we designed this to do that. So we'll have that available. Right now this is an unassembled kit. When we get time, because we were very busy, our people working on these things to get everything ready for everybody. So it won't be available for another month or so until we have the inventory to launch it, because we want to make as much for the people that come to the meeting first. Same with the Resonance Kit. If I start introducing that and people buy up all the parts on me, and then I can't sell it anymore because they find out what parts I'm using and then they buy up everything. So anyway, that's a problem, ongoing problem for me. Now there's another kit I don't have here because I've actually just moved again, and everything's scattered around everywhere. We have a fan kit. It's a 6-inch fan again. This time it's assembled, and it's in a stand, and that's turned out really nice. It's the first time we've done the full circuit on that one. The ones that I originally did at the beginning, where I unwound one of the motor coils and rewound it by filer, which is tedious, and I didn't really ever want to do that for production, but we've got that going, and I'll mention that when we're ready with enough inventory to start selling on the website. But again, we make that available at the meetings for now. So that's where we're at right now. I think I've covered everything. Thank you for watching. All right, so here we are, the latest Renaissance convention here, and we want to show the, there's our sign, of course. Just a couple coils here. Now we were going to do 3 layers, but we have 2 layers coils, and we've got a couple more under here on the other side.
I mean, you got.
So we could go way up here. We have more and more layers, and what we're in a state of, but basically like sympathetic resonance. And we can know this by, normally, if we would add a ferrite rod in here, in these, it would dramatically change the frequency that's locked in. So we can see how many bulbs.
And that would also account for why it's running. The whole thing is running at a lower frequency, right?
Yeah.
Because of the sympathetic resonance.
Some of these are running, I would say, a little bit less than half a watt. Some of these bulbs.
What's the input wattage?
The input wattage, so let's look at the frequency here.
1.61.
23 volts at it's 7.70 milliamps. So I think this is the most coils. What do we have? How many coils here?
Watts. It says 1,118 kilohertz.
No.
Interesting notation.
No, it's 1 million.
1 million?
1 megacycle point something.
Okay, 1 megacycle.
Plus 10 kilos.
Right.
So, whoops. What do you guys think?
I think somebody wants to go to lunch.
And this is not even set up to be tuned. We haven't even really tuned this all yet.
Sell the
Position
kids
everything.
And go home and celebrate.
Here.
Oh, but this is showing how many more layers you
Right
can
here you
add.
can see it.
Make a victory lap.
But see, as you go up, guys, you'll be able to go more, go out. You can add more and more, side to side, up and down. Like I said, here to California.
So how does the wattage input work out in minutes?